Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Monday in the Riv after the big storm, the first storm in Fall River's history that we had a parking ban implemented for a rainstorm and lifted for the snowstorm.
Exactly. Plus, we plowed this rain and we left the snow on the street. So, I mean, it seems like everything's just backwards in the sixth floor.
No, you're right. You're right, CJ. It was really weird because, you know, in the morning I went out, didn't have to clean the car off. The driveway was clear. The streets right down to the pavement. No big deal. But every weather channel that I looked at said it was a two-part storm,
Right.
and it did break because I took the dog for a walk. When it broke and it wasn't doing anything, so I took her out for a walk, and then in the afternoon, when it started snowing, we had a period there where it was really come down. It was almost a whiteout for a short time.
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
were getting some heavy snow. Made it a little worse too, because then you had that kind of slush underneath with the soft snow on top, and it was, yeah. But like I said, hey, the Coogan administration makes history again. Uh, they put the parking ban on for the rain and the other thing, but he's making history again. The man who abides by the law. And I read your flush, great flush. Um, yeah, I like that when you said he's putting in relatives and all. He's making all the power moves. This is his last term. He's getting everybody in. I like that. You know me. I like sesquipedalian words and the pedantic. Yeah, the congruent in your speech. They have to be congruent. Well, yeah, you're right. It means to agree, but also if I remember my geometry right, and I'm not. This may not be accurate. I'm pleading the fifth. It's been a long, very long time since I took geometry, but it's not only just agreeing all the time. Congruent angles in geometry are exact. I believe they're exactly the same angle. So if you put one angle on the other, superimpose them on another one, it would look like just one angle because they're exact. So I thought that was pretty good. I like it when you throw those pedantic words and sesquipedalians around. So it's good. It keeps everybody in their dictionaries.
That's right. That's right. And here's the interesting thing. You were talking about congruent angles are the angles that have equal measure. So all the angles that have equal measure will be called congruent angles. They are seen everywhere. For example, in equilateral triangles, isosceles triangles, or when a transversal intersects two parallel lines. Now try that with sesquipedalian words.
Well, okay, I will now wave the white flag of surrender. You remember a hell of a lot more about your geometry than I do. I remembered the congruent angles, and I remember isosceles triangles, but all that other stuff is like, okay, you now have won the battle of who has the better memory of
I
geometry.
broke out my dictionary. Don't let it stand you. I broke out my
Oh, okay.
dictionary.
All right. Well, but yeah, but you had some other, you had a lot of other things in
I
that
always
flush.
try to pick a word or two which throws people off.
Yeah. Well, and now we heard also. I think we've got to hit it. It's a hot thing. Um, we heard today the announcement that there may be some 9C cuts. I think double. Uh, we what's your acronym? WSA. We suck at
We
radio.
stuck at
So
radio.
I got a report that they said that these cuts were going to be not impacting some of the direct services, as sometimes we have had 9C cuts. But I believe you and I had a discussion before the show, and you said she is going to announce what the cuts are going to be by the end of the week. And I
Correct.
think that by later shows we will have it. Hopefully, she'll do it midweek so we can discuss them on the show. So, but there are 9C cuts coming, and see, the thing is, I'll tell you what. Paul Coogan has got a horseshoe up his butt. Every time he was gonna dismantle the city, put in all these new fees and things that you referred to before, and then he gets the ARPA money, which he blew, and to bail him out. So now he gets another. Now it's not going to be how totally insensitive they were to their spending, their out of control spending. They're going to blame the 9C cuts now. Oh, the 9C cuts, the 9C cuts. And this is the thing. They dug themselves in a hole. You talked about some of this stuff in the flush, and that's going to be their excuse to try to get, to try to get more money from everybody, pay less money, and it's always going to be not their fiduciary irresponsibility. So with that, I'll turn it back.
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting, I went by what Channel 25 had said, and one of our viewers sent me the link to the story, which was important. And again, it says that sources say Governor Healy is to announce emergency budget cuts. 25 Investigates has learned Massachusetts Governor Maura Healy plans to announce emergency budget cuts following 6 straight months of lower than projected revenues, according to multiple sources. Boston 25 News has been tracking declining state revenues. An announcement is expected early this week. The governor has the authority to make such cuts under Section 9C of the Massachusetts Constitution when projections fall short of revenue. The governor can make emergency cuts to balance the budget. As of December 2023, the revenues were $769 million less than the year-to-date benchmark. The governor is targeting costs that will total around $375 million. There are likely other initiatives in place to make up for the shortfall without impacting the budget of core programs. And I think that's the key there. She doesn't want to involve core programs, which says a lot. But one of the things I think is interesting is we've been listening to our state delegation and Mike Roderick saying that 9C cuts won't happen because we have enough money, we have a windfall. So much so that they overspent money in the budget. They just kept pissing away money, especially on these grants for specific programs, which did nothing for the economy. They were just feel-good grants, which is a big waste of money, in my opinion. But the thing that really gets me is, will those 9C cuts affect all these feel-good grants? No, we can't piss off our constituents. We can't piss off our followers. No, we can't do that. But we'll take it away from police and fire, like they did under Bob Correa. You can't do this anymore. Okay? You had the money in the budget. You spent the money excess. And we know you spent it excess. You even said it. You had such a windfall of taxes that you were able to spend extra money, not thinking about a rainy day fund. Not thinking about, well, what happens if we get a rainy day? What happens if we don't get the revenues that we were expecting? And if you didn't expect it, why not? Why were you not following what was happening with the budget? Why were you not following what was happening with the economy? We've been following what's happening with the economy. We've been talking about the economy forever. And we pick it up, but we're negative. So that's why they don't pay attention to what we're talking about. We're always so negative. We have nothing nice to say. I'm telling you now, this is going to be interesting to watch. And as soon as I hear what those 9C cuts are going to be, I'm going to see if I feel vindicated in my feelings, because it's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And, look, CJ, they look at it. They don't care. They didn't give us a tax break when we had billions and billions and billions of dollars. They wouldn't reduce the sales tax. They don't care how much surplus they get. They're going to blow it on their pet projects. They don't care about the taxpayer, just like in the city of Fall River. We don't care about the average taxpayer, because all they care about is what they covet. Money. Remember our first show, and they're going on 13 years ago, Follow the Money? Well, I got something from one of our viewers. Davol Street property to be taken by eminent domain.
Yep.
And it goes on to talk about them taking a project, a course, where is it? On the waterfront. And then I encourage you all to go on like Facebook and stuff and to get this stuff. And then they absolutely eviscerated them. Comments, and I'll read one of the comments, and there's a bunch of them. The land grab begins. Ken Fiola and his merry band of developers want to own every inch of the waterfront. Anyone not connected need not apply. And then there's a whole bunch of others. Very, very, very. All along fundamentally the same lines. Listen, this has never been about the MBTA. This is about people from this area that wanted to own every inch of that waterfront for the last 40 years. And it's coming to fruition, and they describe the property, I mean, as, you know, an eyesore, this and that and the other thing, and the termination of the property and blah. Look, I don't care if the thing was pristine, and it's not that bad. It stands between two properties that are owned by people who are connected. And what they want is every single inch of that waterfront. And you know something? They're going to spend a lot of money to get it. This one they won't, because they'll take it by eminent domain.
Even if they take it by eminent domain, they still have to pay market rate for that property. Okay? And as you said, that property is valuable. There are already two people on both sides which want to buy that property, that want that property. Therefore, it's worth something. And I think that by being worth something like that, they need to get paid top dollar. Remember what happened in New Bedford with the MBTA? They took all that land by eminent domain, and they paid them what they thought was market rate. The court said, no, it wasn't. You got to pay them more. And the MBTA had to pay out more money. This is what's happened. That land is definitely worth some money. The other thing, which I think is also very important, and I love throwing their phrases and their words right back at them. Mike Roderick said, we will not be giving this land away. We will be selling it for market rates. So far, I haven't seen any of it sell for market rates. Therefore, when the state takes that 19 acres of land, how much are they going to sell it to the redevelopment authority? For $5,000? $10,000? It's worth millions. It's worth millions. And if they're going to give it to the redevelopment authority to develop, then that money has got to be paid back to the state. Worth millions.
Well,
and it can't be given away. It cannot be given away for $5,000. It's got to be given away for a respectable sale price, not for this bullshit.
Well, CJ, you're like half right. You're right. It's not supposed to be given away. It shouldn't be given away. It should be sold for market rate. But remember one distinct difference. We have Paulie Pockets and his deep pocket friends that are getting this land. And your house may have doubled in its assessment. My house may have doubled in its assessment. But they won't double that assessment. And nobody's going to say a damn word about it in Fall River. That's my prediction. I hope they prove me wrong. But nobody's going to say it. The council's not going to say anything except maybe Michelle Dion. Nobody's going to say anything. That property's in a zone where the council really doesn't have a say because of the MBTA. You know what but they had a difference. They didn't have Paulie Pockets in New Bedford. You had a mayor go after them. The mayor went after them. Why? To get money in the hands of the people in New Bedford. Put more money in the pockets of the people. Paulie money only in the pockets of his developer friends. I wouldn't be surprised if they sold that land for $1. That's the problem. The old adage, you can't fight City Hall. Not because City Hall's right all the time, it's because you can't afford it. Maybe if I hit the Powerball, I keep saying, if I hit the Powerball, I'd take them to court. But Paul's not going to take on the poor. He's not going to be John Mitchell. John Mitchell spent money on affordable housing. He didn't, to this day, like Paul did, still attempt the con. The border's closed. There's no inflation. Prices aren't high. Mini Biden says, we've done enough for affordable housing. Paul, for the 7 millionth time, public housing is not affordable housing. Workforce housing is different than public housing. Affordable housing is different than workforce housing. The whole country knows that. Stop trying to run the con. Stop trying to run the con. It's not working. And we told you, we got this kind of public housing because of people like you, politicians. We're the ones, the politicians put billboards. Come to Fall River, because the housing authority director was going to make more money because his contract had bonuses for occupancy. You courted this stuff. That's right, that's a good one. Yeah, Kent Viola and his merry band of vultures. Yes. Yeah, and actually, CJ, you talked about this new banner we have here with the black background.
Yeah.
It makes the comments by the viewers a lot easier to read.
Then I guess we'll stay with that.
The other ones are kind of like light. I got to kind of stick my head on a screen.
Yeah.
But this comes out, it's really easy to read. So with that, back to you.
Already the comments are just starting now. Nelson, who's been on this show several times, and I like a lot of what Nelson provides us off the air. We'll know exactly which amount it gets sold for, just in case they con us saying it was adequately sold. Yeah, nothing's gonna be adequately sold. Okay? Get an outside appraiser, somebody not attached to the city at all. Appraise the land for what it's worth and what they can sell it for, and then that's what the redevelopment authority or the state sells it for. Not that the state gives it to the city of Fall River. The state has to sell it to the city of Fall River because that's state land. They took it by eminent domain and they paid for it. It's time for the state to get paid back because remember, the state may have paid for it, but it was my tax dollars. It was your tax dollars. And I want my tax dollars back. And I don't want $1,000 back for a $50 or $60 or $70,000 investment. That's ridiculous. And this is what happens. And then you see things like Paul doing now, taking back these schools for $1. That's ridiculous. I did an extensive search into the registry of deeds. On none of the deeds do I see a clawback provision. That was in the purchase and sale agreement. Now, what I learned in real estate school when I had my real estate license was that the purchase and sale agreement expires at the closing of the property. So unless you put that provision in the deed, it doesn't exist. So I've checked a few of these buildings, and none of them have a clawback provision in the deed. It was in the purchase and sales agreement, which expires at the completion of the sale, unless other provisions are made. Now, I don't know if other provisions were made in some of these situations, but personally, I think it's time for these school buildings that maybe the mayor wants to take back. Maybe it's time to put them up for sale. Let the private entities make some money instead of the mayor making money. I'm not saying the mayor's taking it and putting it in his pocket, but this is the way it looks. It looks a little fishy to me. And this is why the people need to step up and be counted. Whether it be at the polling place, at citizens' input, you need to be counted. You need to make your voice heard because Chip and I can only make so much noise, and we make a lot of it, but we can't make it all. We need you to turn around and make some noise as well.
Yeah, you're right, CJ. Listen, the city and the state, because the MBTA is state fundamentally, should not be in a real estate business because we know what happens when you give politicians an opportunity to get money for themselves and their friends. They stick gold bars in their jackets. They make millions and millions of dollars in the stock market with insider trading. They sell their pals a lot for $1 when they know that it's going to be developed for millions of dollars. It's corruption at its highest level. And we see it all the time at every level of government. We see it all the time.
And it's not like it's new. We saw it with Carlton Viveris and a few key people in Carlton's political team. Okay? We saw it when the Stop and Shop and Shaw's buildings were created, when those lands were sold for $1 because somebody had insider information that the Stop and Shop and Shaw's wanted it. And so they bought the land for $1 and then they sold it for hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is what happens when you are politically connected and you're taking the money out of your pocket and putting it into that politician's pocket, whether it be their campaign accounts or wherever it may go. This is how you get connected. This is how you get politicians who turn around and make land deals along the waterfront, land deals throughout the city, whether it be with TIFs, ties, H-dip zones. These are politicians which are getting paid off one way or another. And it's not only the mayor's office. We got to look at the city council because they got to approve all of these things. So somebody's getting a lot of political traction, and we don't know why. Hey, I'll take a tip. I'll take a tie on my property. You want one, Chip? Would you like a tip or a tie on your property?
Sure, I would love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think every taxpayer in the city should just say they want to have an independent assessor come in and assess their properties after these tax bills have gone out. But listen, this is, like you said, it's been going on forever, but never to this degree. I mean, this is the final stage in their hostile takeover of the waterfront. The reality is that they've been coveting that area for years. They just never had the mechanisms to take this land without any consideration for zoning and stuff, and now they do with the MBTA. They got what they wanted. And Ken Fiola went before the council and basically told the council, you don't have a damn thing to say about it. We'll do whatever the hell we want to do down there. That's like the Wild West. And we know that these people who have been connected are getting all kinds of sweetheart deals. But like you said, then again, it gets down to a very, very simple fact. Who you elect. Mitchell, I believe, just got elected to his 6th term. Why? Because he's fought for the people of New Bedford. He's the guy that said, you people screwed these people in that MBTA zone. You did not give them enough money for the properties. You did not give any of the owners enough money, and we're taking your ass to court. That's what a mayor who works for the people does. He put money into affordable housing numerous times. That's what a mayor who cares about the regular people in his city does. He raised the retirees' COLA base from 12 to 14. That's what a mayor does when he realizes that the people who are in a retirement system now worked when people made peanuts, and they're living on virtually nothing. You know, down the road with all the big salaries that they've given out, they may be making retirements that. I don't know what happened to me, just went dark, but I'm going to keep talking here. Um, but this is what a mayor does who cares about the.
Chip, I think you just lost your internet connection, which we were expecting might happen. Um, so I will kind of take over a little bit. We don't have a lot of time left on the show, so that's probably a good thing. But I'm sorry to see that you lost your internet connection. We were expecting Comcast had given him notice yesterday that they would be doing some work on the internet connections at his location. And yes, he's definitely lost his internet connection because he's just dropped off the screen. Uh, you know, you've got to make sure your voice is heard. Make sure you talk to your city councilors, whether you believe they're going to side with you or not. Like, we don't know. I mean, they all put on a good front, like Andrew and Linda and Joe Camara and Sean Kadim. They put on good fronts. The only person we found out so far who actually represents the people is us. Yes, Chip. We know you. We noticed you lost your internet connection.
Yeah, those assholes with Xfinity just shut me off.
That's okay. We're down to the last 3 minutes of the show. You're being heard. So they heard you. All right, Chip. I'll call you back when I'm done. All right.
Bye.
It's good that we can bring him on even when we have these problems. Maybe I should teach him how to get internet connection to his phone when something like this happens. Uh, but again, you need to be sure to make your voice heard. Call your city councilors. Call your school committee people. Let them know. Because again, not only does the mayor have the votes lined up in the city council, the mayor has the votes lined up on the school committee. So your children can suffer at the cost of you. This is what happens when you don't get involved. Nobody says you have to run for office, although it would be great if you did. I mean, I got people asking me to run for office all the time, and I tell them no. I've done it 3 times. 3 times was enough. People just don't want to hear the truth. But maybe that's changing. Maybe the truth is coming down the pipe. And maybe we will see that with the new people coming in the background. You have people trying to revise the charter renewal process. While I support such a process, I firmly believe that they should have taken it bits and pieces and done it by home rule petition, such as term limits. They should have done term limits by a home rule petition. It takes 100 signatures to get it before the city council, and I think 300 to get it put on the ballot, or 5% of the vote to put on the ballot. That's it. And then once it's on the ballot, if it gets passed, the city council has no choice but to send it to the state for a home rule petition acceptance. And you start that with the term limits. The city council is never going to put the term limits on the ballot because they're afraid they're going to lose the vote. And they don't want to lose the vote. And that's the way it works. You're not going to get representation unless you fight for it. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and I hate to cut us out this way, but again, Chip lost his connection. I want to thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. This weather's going to break. We're going to get some rain, wash the snow and ice away, so it should be nice. Hopefully you get out there with some ice melt, put it out there while the temperature's 38 degrees, and be careful when you're walking and driving so you don't slip and slide all over the place. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday.